Spider's back! Grey Cup 109. Continuation. Zone rule. Hit it! Early in the morning in Halifax here. Here's Spider, here comes Spider, CFL's red zone rule. Hit it! Yeah, I want to hear your loud chanting in the red zone. We want Spider CFL red zone rule. Imagine that at a Grey Cup game, okay? Fans booing in the red zone, like loud, boisterous. We want Spider CFL red zone rule. I can guarantee it'll be adopted then, in a flash. So this session, it's a continuation of my prior session on the 109th Grey Cup in Regina, and comments made on Jamie 9. I want to talk about in the green zone some of the comments I was hearing this morning early, and I'm going to go over what was happening in that game. It was insane, bizarre, the wild finish. Go over that in more detail, and then I'm going to finish with the Touchdown Atlantic talk for 2023. I'll give you some information of that, and then the meetings, the last-ditch effort basically for Ambrosi to save his job, meetings in Halifax with the City Council and the province on a CFL 10th expansion team, the Atlantic Schooners for Halifax and Atlantic Canada, and a stadium proposal. Okay, so I'm going to get into that, and I have some particulars in that as well. But I just want to touch base a bit on the Enoch Rwamba's award. Listen, I really like the guy. He's a really family guy. He's a very emotional guy. Like, I mean, tears came to my eyes. I was so happy for him. And you know, he went to the NFL. He was a first-round draft pick. Played with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but he came back to the CFL. That's what I like about him. So he's sort of the epitome of what a Canadian player should be. He doesn't need a Canadian ratio to make. It's almost an insult, I would say, to me if I was a Canadian player, the Canadian ratio. I mean, that's the only reason I make the team, because of the Canadian ratio, guaranteed Canadian ratio, roster of 21 guaranteed Canadians, and now 8 or 10 next year Canadian starters from 7. I mean, they're just diluting the league more and more and more, and more people got to walk away and not watch, because you got to allow the best available players to start in a professional sports league, like every other professional sports league does. So you can't have a Canadian ratio. But when you have a commissioner like Randy Ambrosi, who was like in bed with the Canadian Players and Canadian Players Association, and actually was a member of the Canadian Players Association when the CFL wanted to get rid of the Canadian ratio and be like every other professional team, allow the best available players to start and play at every position of the entire CFL game, he went to court to stop him, and they made him the commissioner. That's why he's so lousy. And by the way, the ratings come out for the 109th Grey Cup, 3.3, I believe that was the number. The average number is probably a little more than that with RDS, probably more like 3.7, 3.9. And then apparently it peaked in the fourth quarter, the audience at 4.9, but actually 8 million tuned in at one time. But the average was 3.3, and if you add the RDS number in there, I think it goes up. But still, Randy Ambrosi's numbers compared with Mark Cohen's numbers, it's like Mark Cohen had 4, 5, and 6 million viewers, and 10 million that tuned in, and he averaged 4, 5, 6 million. It's unbelievable the difference between those. I mean, Mark Cohen had class. He was honest. He was well presented, well dressed, well spoken, super salesman, good in marketing and branding of the CFL. Randy Ambrose is none of the above, and I don't know how he keeps his job and he's not fired. I know that's why he's coming to Halifax. He figures that if he get a 10th team, French, it would save his job. Well, we'll see what happens. But a lot of people, I mean, he was booed twice, like I said earlier in my first video, when he flipped the coin toss for the Grey Cup and presenting the Grey Cup. Oh, something interesting that I took note of that I've never seen before. Mark Cohen, you know, he would present the Grey Cup, pick it up, present the Grey Cup. The players have no respect for Randy Ambrosi, and remember, Bethel Thompson's an American, and he says he called out Randy Ambrosie and his leadership and not promoting the CFL and not protecting their game and trying to give it away to the Americans, change their game to 4 downs. This is an American saying this, and like I said about Bethel Thompson, he's the epitome of what a CFL player should be. He's been with the Toronto Argonauts, loyally with the Toronto Argonauts, for 5 years, and saying that, and his players has his back, and everybody has his back for coming out and saying that, and the players, when Randy Ambrosie, they announced his name, present the Grey Cup, he was booed. For the fans that were still left there, they booed him again, and then the Argonaut players rushed and took it off the podium. They would normally, the commissioner takes the Grey Cup, gives it to the players, the captains. In this case, the Toronto Argonauts just grabbed it. No respect for him at all. I noticed that, and even Randy Ambrosie went like that. You know, like I don't think he could believe it, but I can believe it. And people are phoning in on the Green Zone saying that I don't know what he was drinking or smoking when he was the State of the League address. Basically, they were saying he was just full of shit, you know, a bullshitter, and lying through his teeth. And you know, never answered any questions, bullshitted around every question. Like, people are fed up with this guy, and this commissioner has, you know, you look at his watch, under his watch, he's basically destroyed the CFL, and he's so political, liberal political. He ruined, like I said the last time, he ruined the Edmonton Eskimos franchise. Just look at no seats. Look at the optics. Look at the optics. No seats. I mean, I'm sorry, practically the whole stadium, 58,000, I mean, in Edmonton, completely empty. You know, what I meant to say, no fans in the seats, no butts in the seats. That's what I meant to say. Excuse me, it's really early, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, Halifax time, because I didn't do the one back-to-back because it was too late, too dark for the setting, so I came back this morning early to finish up. But anyway, let's get into it. So, the optics, yeah, all these empty seats, I mean, abundance around the CFL. Many season ticket, you know, holders never came back, and people have called in the Green Zone and says they never will because of Randy Ambrosie, what he did to the CFL, and because of the fact that, like in Edmonton situation with their name, how he took the name away, you know, in bed with Trudeau. And it was a political stunt, and it practically destroyed the franchise, or it did destroy the franchise, because there's nobody in the seats, completely empty. And Randy Ambrosie lies about the numbers, saying there's 20,000 there, when it's actually 2,000 in that stadium. Nobody. And you look around the CFL, many empty seats, not even half full, a lot of the stadiums, all season. And that's all stadiums in the CFL. Numbers way down, and people calling in the Green Zone saying that people don't care anymore about the CFL. Basically, Randy Ambrosie, you know, he's so unpopular, and what he's done to our game and his politics, and people are fed up, and they're all watching NFL, and our 3-down game has been really. I don't know, it's been really damaged. I think that's a basic word, but it's been really damaged, and will it come back? I hope it comes back, because I care, because I'm Canadian. I'm real Canadian, and that's why I didn't want to talk about the award for Enoch Nwamba. I mean, I'm very happy for him, and I'm so happy that he got the award. He deserved it, and he's such a family. His little girl was up there, and you know, he got very emotional and he was crying, but those are real tears. They were victory tears too, and he's so much of a teammate too, and we held off both awards. But I think what the CFL has to do, because again, Randy Ambrosie is so political, and the CFL, they can't just give like most valuable player and then best Canadian player award, because someone said to me, why is that? And I said, but that's because of the politics of the CFL, the Canadian ratio that dominates, you know, handcuffs the owners and the coaches. They can't recruit the best players, can't, even the better Americans can't even play in the CFL game or in the CFL playoffs of the Grey Cup because of the Canadian ratio. They had to sit them on the bench. It's unbelievable. That happened to Calgary in the playoffs. It happens to all the teams. It's unbelievable. People don't even know about it, how bad it is, Canadian ratio. But you get people pushing for it because they're biased. They don't want what's best for the CFL. They don't want the CFL to grow. They don't want the fan base to grow. That's the only way it's going to grow. And it's going to grow with the best rule, not the hash mark rule, okay? With my CFL red zone rule. And Randy Rosie talks about, oh, the 2 and outs dropped by 10 or 12%. Well, there were so many 2 and outs this year in the CFL, more last year, but way too many. There's still way too many, and in the red zone, way too many. I was trying to research the stat on the red zone percentage. It's not even there. It's probably up from 51, but it's never going to hit 60. What my CFL red zone rule will automatically do, it's adopted, an increase of 18% at 54.8%, and that was, a pretty obtainable number for several years before the disaster last year, 51%. So it probably went up from that, but they don't post it because it's never going to hit the number that my CFL red zone rule will deliver. So it's still way too many 2 and outs in the CFL between the goal lines, and it's magnified in the red zone because it's brutal. I mean, fans boo, more repetitive, unappealing 2-down football stops resulting in more monotonous, predictable, non-eventful, distasteful, easy chip shot field goals that no CFL fan wants to see, especially in a CFL 3-down game, which my CFL red zone rule completely eliminated, remarkably completely eliminate the 2 biggest killers, 2 biggest turnoffs of a CFL 3-down game in the red zone with my SPYDER CFL red zone rule. So you need my SPYDER CFL red zone rule, the CFL, and you need to allow the best available players to play CFL, just like every other sports league does, like the NHL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, yes, even now MLS soccer, okay, NFL, of course, and 27, like I said earlier, of our top Canadians playing in the NFL because they want the best players. The CFL should want the best available players as well, but no, not with a commission like Randy and Brosie that would belong to the Canadian Players Association. That's got to go, by the way. But anyway, I think there should be an award for the international or the American, or in this case, because of Randy and Brosie's global incentive that earned about 1% in return. What a joke. It should be an international best player award in the CFL as well. It's just too biased, in my opinion. But okay, let's get into the 109th Grey Cup. Okay, let's get into it. The first 3 quarters, the first half, it ended 10-7. Okay, so Beattie missed a field goal, and but he hit 2, and they had a single point too. Conceded a single point, I think, Winnipeg. So it made 7. Winnipeg had a touchdown, and on the goal line. Okay. And they had a field goal, so it was 10-7 at the end of the first half. It was more of a defensive battle and sort of a running back competition between the 2 teams, the Bombers and the Argonauts, to see who had the best running backs, because they're running the ball more. There were some big plays, but that was the first half. But the second half, the Argonauts came out flying. And the second half is a fantastic half of Grey Cup football. CFL 3-down football, and the Toronto Argonauts were on fire, and they come out and they scored a touchdown, and it was a good series of first downs, and then Ouellette punched it in, so they went up 14-10, and they didn't miss a single port convert, but he did miss one in the game, Beattie, for the Argonauts, and he missed 2 field goals. And that's, I really believe, because of the hash mark rule, because the narrow hash marks, the way they place the ball, and there's been, by the way, way more field goals missed this year because of the hash marks being so narrow, and of course way more sideways passes that you saw in the Grey Cup too that they couldn't even catch. and under 10 yards. They're boring. The players don't want it. But that's what the narrow hash marks do. Shorter sideways passes for more 2-and-outs. Just ridiculous little plays. That's your hash mark rule, Randy and Brosie. You know, you must have been smoking hash when you come up with that, with your hash pipe. Anyway, it's ridiculous and it's embarrassing. And the narrow hash mark rule is causing, I believe, field goal kickers to miss field goals all year. They missed them from the 20-yard line. They hit the upright. Beatty did too. And so he missed. He missed too. And Randy and Brosie said, oh, with the narrow hash mark straight on, they're not going to miss any field goals. Well, they're missing more than ever, okay? Because they can't handle the ball properly. There's not enough room with the narrow hash marks, and that's why they're having difficulty. And that's why the ball really sways more, left to right, because of the narrow hash marks. But so it's another snow job, Randy and Brosie. There's your hash mark rule. It's garbage. Anyway, so what happened? The Argonauts, going up 14-10, and then all hell broke loose. The Wild West game of CFL 3-down football. The insanity of it. It was so bizarre, but so good. The twists and turns. It was incredible to watch. And that's why the ratings went up. Like, I think it peaked at 4.9 in the fourth quarter on the average. So what was so amazing about it was that the referees kept cheating for Winnipeg. Kept cheating. Even one of their touchdowns, 51, was offside. You know, he right on the 1 yard line. You can see it if you play it back. He goes before Collaros snaps the ball, you know, so it's offside. Not saying they wouldn't have punched it in anyway, but it would have been a 5-yard penalty. Okay, that would have been third and 6. Would have been a big difference. But no, they had to cheat. But it was obvious. It was blatant. Just like their receivers, 2 receivers on each side. Okay, line of scrimmage, offside, 1 to 2 yards, blatantly. Numerous times during the game, not called once. So anyway, the fix was in, and so what happened was, okay, what happened is the Blue Bombers broke a record. Grant did it again, like he did in BC Lions. Sorry, just had to think about it. This is all off my tongue. There's nothing I'm writing down, so I have to remember. It's early morning, so I'm tuning in. So if I slip up a little bit, chronologically, if I don't get everything in order, don't give me a rough time over it, because I'm trying. It's hard. I'm barely awake. But anyway, I got to get this done, and I've got to put up on YouTube. But anyway, so yeah, Grant ran in the fourth quarter. He ran it back, the start of the fourth quarter, by the way. Now I'm getting it in order. Start of the fourth quarter, and I actually think I got it in sequence pretty good. He ran back and broke a record, 102-yard touchdown. Like, he ran a big one back in against BC Lions in Winnipeg in the Western Final, but this was even bigger. Broke a record from the Calgary one and that against the Red Blacks in Edmonton, where I think it was Williams. I think that's who it was that ran back a 99-yard. So he 102-yard. Okay, Grant. So they went up. They went up 23 to 14. And the reason they're up 23 to 14 because again the hash marks being narrow. The Winnipeg kicker kicked the single point he missed the single point convert from the 32-yard line because they moved it out. Okay. And that was actually a good rule. Just like my CFL red zone rule, okay? With my CFL red zone rule kick, it's from the 35, the 70 actually 42, so it'll be even a more challenging kick. And what a great bonus, really compatible, complementary bonus feature to added attachment to my CFL red zone rule. It's all my CFL red zone rule page, and by the way, it's a great page, and you got to go on it. I'm going to keep adding it. Stuff to it. But anyway, so what happened, Winnipeg went up, 23-14. So all hell broke loose then. I mean, it was an 11th mark in the fourth quarter. What happened? McLeod Bethel Thompson dislocated his thumb, and all of a sudden Kelly was out there, right? So Kelly was out there. Chad Kelly, the rookie, he had a few snaps during. He was out there, put into the fire, and there was a time in the game that was down, I think, to 6 minutes. He did well, by the way, got some first downs. What happened? The Argonauts. Another crazy thing happened. I don't know if this is an order or not, but what happened is that they got in position for a field goal, and it was blocked. It was a blocked field goal. It was blocked. There's 3 points, right? But before that, after the Argonauts scored a touchdown, so they went up by 4 points. So what happened was Chad Kelly, I'll tell you about the remarkable, it was 2nd and 15, and he ran a 20-yard, he was almost tackled by Big Hill, and he got away from another defender, Bombers defensive lineman, and he ran for and ran around, made a nice move on he would have been tackled, and he got 20 yards. Imagine that, and for another first down, and he went in again. That touchdown, and they went ahead, 24-23, and then they had a chance for a field goal, and it was blocked. They went up by 4 points, and then what happened in the last 2 minutes? It was crazy, and actually around the 140 mark. On the 20-yard line in the red zone, basically, in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers' end of the field, on second down, Sacklowers gets sacked, and in the third down, they have to go for it, of course, in the 20-yard line when 1:40 left. I think that's what was on the clock, or less, 1:26, something like that. He got sacked again, but my God, Robbie Smith, another Canadian he had a chance. He could have got the most valuable Canadian award too. He accidentally, and it was devastating really, grabs his Calero's face mask on the corner there, and it was, it was called as a face mask call. If it would have been the other way, they never would have called it, I guarantee you. And so what happened? They get an automatic first down, 15-yard penalty, and then, of course, Claros throws a big pass, and they get down in field goal range. They move the ball down in the 30-some-yard line, and they go to kick to win the game with 45 seconds left, or 50 seconds, the clock is running, and it goes down to 45. They kick the field goal, and it's blocked by the same guy that the face mask call on. Robbie Smith blocked it. Redemption. He blocked it. And the Argos ran the clock down. They won the game. They won the 109th Grey Cup. Can you imagine that? Unbelievable. That's how I sign off on it. Boy, I put my stamp on it. One of the greatest Grey Cups ever, the 109th Grey Cup. And my team, my all-time favorite team, the Toronto Argonauts, won the 109th Grey Cup. What an ending. 24-23. What a game. Probably the greatest ending of any CFL game, I would think, in the Grey Cup. It was fantastic. Now I got to talk quickly about Touchdown Landing. Touchdown Landing 2023 is going to happen. I'll tell you why. I know I met the president's son of St. Mary's. He said they're in bid to get it back right now in St. Mary's, but they still have construction problems. They get issues there with the extension of the cafeteria, and it's just sitting for like over a year. It's not moving, so they're not going to be. And by the way, the stands would have to be, because it comes out too far. On the 20 or 30-yard line down, they wouldn't be able to go up this high. So I don't know what they would do there. I don't think get 10,000 or not in there now. But anyway, they're still bidding for it, and they want it. But I don't think it'll be ready. The construction won't be finished. So that's why there's stands up at can you imagine? Stands up at Acadia is still in Wolfville. They're still there. So it's going to go to Wolfville. Guaranteed. There's going to be another Touchdown Landing in Wolfville next year, and they deserve it. It's a perfect setting with all their patios, with the tailgate right behind the stadium. The town is just on fire. It was electrifying, and it will be electrifying, just like the 109th Grey Cup. Wasn't it electrifying? Unbelievable. So what's happening this week? So I got to move on. I got a few minutes, or next week. Randy Ambrosie's last-ditch effort to save his job is bringing his CFL expansion committee, and the owner of the BC Lions is on it, and he's bringing them to Halifax. He's meeting with the mayor and the city councillors, the city, and the province. And there's also like big sponsorships, people, I think partners involved too, like Sobeys is one of them. They're involved, and there's other partners, and I don't know if Drummond is still involved as a potential with the Atlantic Schooners, 10th CFL franchise in Halifax. I don't know if he's still involved at the table. There could be a new owner, but there's actually more than we know that's happening behind the scenes, and we're going to find out more in a week or so, what the outcome. And apparently they're going to have a timeline where they're going to actually have a timeline where the Atlantic Schooners are going to start playing, and I think it's going to be 2024, and I think this new stadium is going to be built by 2025, because there's something tied in with the Wanderers grounds here, where they're going to be building a 14,000 permanent seat stadium at the Wanderers grounds for the Halifax Wanderers, Canadian Football League, CPL they call it, the Professional Soccer League, and so there's talk about collaborating here and making it 20 to 22 for, there's two models for the CFL, okay, to have a CFL franchise. And by the way, the city would get more money in the province, they get more money for rent, the province would get more money in tax revenue. So I think they're really interested in this model. I don't know if the Halifax Wanderers because of the pitch, but it worked in Toronto and BMO Field, but they're still fighting over it. But maybe there's another site that they're looking at to build a real CFL model stadium where they have a Grey Cup game, because I think the province will be interested in that. So there's going to be a lot come out of the meeting. The big thing is the stadium, what's the size, where it's going to be built. It's got to be at least 22,000 permanent seats with skyboxes, and they have to have the revenue and so forth with all the amenities, and hopefully somewhat bigger, that expanded to 30,000 for a Grey Cup game. Signing off, Spider, here comes Spider, CFL Red Zone Roll. Thanks for listening. Check out both videos because they're both pretty good. I tried my best this morning. All the best to you. Go Canada, go in the soccer game.